Good afternoon, everyone. Super excited to have you all here. And I'm Lynn, the CEO, co-founder of Fireworks. Thanks, Tony, for joining this Fireside chat.
Yeah, I'm Tony. I'm VP at Perplexity. Previously, I was at OpenAI, and excited as a strong customer of Fireworks. Happy to come and talk.
So Perplexity is busy shipping a lot of features. Tell us more. What's new at Perplexity?
Yeah, so we have a couple.
I think you have a video to show us.
Okay.
Is that
yeah,
right?
actually, why don't we run the video?
So it feels like Perplexity is going to go everywhere into our life. And I know you guys actually heavily invest in a research arm to tune heavily your own model. So tell us a little bit of why you invest in doing that instead of calling a proprietary API and solve all the problems for you.
Yeah, so I think one thing when it comes to doing research is you really want to shorten the feedback and iteration cycle. So a lot of what researchers do, and I saw this at OpenAI as well, is to go collect some data, analyze it, understand it, maybe change the formatting of the logging, and make really quick iterations. And that's just fundamentally hard to do with a proprietary closed source model. So if you're calling an API, you're using Anthropic or OpenAI's fine-tuning API, it's just hard for you to iterate. And you really want the person who is doing the research and improving the model to be inside the walls of the company, to have access to the data, to be able to iterate quickly. That's really how the best research gets developed. And for that reason, we've really gravitated towards building a lot of those things in-house and partnering with strong open source vendors like Fireworks.
So that's very interesting, right? Because previously you worked at Meta, driving experimentation platform for product analytics, right? So I'm wondering if there are connective tissue of thinking about creating data flywheel from product analytics to align the user experience from product side with the user behavior side with the product design. And do you see analogy of owning the model here through similar lines?
Yeah, so I think if you think about all of the products that are dependent on data, so meaning the more data it gathers, the better the product becomes. They have these data flywheel dynamics, right? Facebook obviously is one of them, and Perplexity is as well. In that type of environment, as an application company, you have a lot of advantages. I like to tell a lot of people that a company like Perplexity or Cursor, they are able to see the entire user trajectory in a way that where the underlying API company can only see the individual LLM calls, right? And so because of that, it gives you the advantage to build out this data flywheel and leverage it appropriately, understand the end-to-end user journey, be able to do preference optimization. All of these things are possible because you've sort of invested in this data flywheel. Yeah.
So this is very interesting because at Fireworks, we don't believe in one size fits all. As in, you just use a off-the-shelf API that solve all your problems in the best way. We actually believe in one size fits one, where you heavily customize, towards your user behavior, and create data flywheel absorb into the model, align data distribution. So it seems like our thinking is very much aligned here. So I know Perplexity famously tuned R1, DeepSeek R1 model, and also tuned for math. And those are quite hard, it's not objectively correct answer per se, especially for your deep research areas. So tell us a little bit, how you drive that successfully and use your tuned model to power your product.
Yeah, so I think with respect to like the R1 1776 model, we obviously R1 came out. It was like a big deal. Like it blew up. Everyone was talking about it, and I think we identified like, well, most people actually they want a model that doesn't have the same like censorship constraints that come from like a Chinese company, right? And so it actually wasn't too difficult. Like a fair amount of like SFT we used like a lot of SFT to like get it to be able to like remove a lot of the like integrity components associated with it, and so we're able to like deploy this and launch it on Fireworks, and so that was very helpful partnership with Fireworks to be able to do that. With respect to like RL for math and reasoning, yeah, there's been a lot of like really great work that's been done by people. They've published breakthroughs in GRPO. We're able to like replicate a lot of that. Obviously, in every single case, to your point, the approach that you would use generally to train like a general purpose model might be very different for the specific application use case you have. And so there was obviously like additional work that we had to do that. But yeah, for the most part, if it wasn't for like all the data that we have and the ability to like move quickly and adopt like different training frameworks for different parts of the post-training process, we wouldn't have been able to like make that much progress on that. So yeah.
And while you tune, you mentioned it's really hard for researchers in a frontier lab to imagine what is the best application pattern. So when you tune your model, how you define the objective to optimize for?
So generally, I think the rule is you want to align your reward signal with as close to like the user advantage as possible. So effectively, if you're thinking about, like, I think the best researchers, what they do is they reason from first principles. They have a good product intuition and instinct. So for example, if you're coming up with a voice model, it's like the first thing you do is like put on your product hat, think about like, well, why does Siri suck today, right? It doesn't know when to interrupt you. It doesn't sense your tone of voice. And working from like the product first principles backwards, you're able to like think, oh, okay, so I need to collect a lot of human data around like, people interrupting themselves, or people where I need to collect human data where like the voice intonation matters a lot, right? And from there, you're able to sort of like build out this like data flywheel and like really reason about the types of research methodologies you want to tackle. And I think like we've definitely like taken that approach at Perplexity. So that's how we've been able to make a couple key breakthroughs.
Yeah, so today we're going to talk a lot about reinforcement learning. And I want to hear your thoughts. I think Perplexity team is a quite advanced user in that regard. And I want to hear your thoughts on what do you see works there? And what are the challenges you want to continue to tackle?
Yeah, I think in a lot of cases, like partnering with a vendor like Fireworks, there's a lot of things that we can do just right off the bat, right? So if you think about like SFT, you're able to do that just by simply sampling trajectories from a model provider like Fireworks, right? And for that, like decoding speed, like the work that Fireworks has done to like improve decoding speed is really, really helpful, right? And then there's a set of other, like, I would say like more advanced techniques around like on-policy and off-policy learning. Those tend to be a little bit more tricky, but I think we're committed to like making it work.
Can you say more about what exactly is tricky there? If we can dive a little bit.
Yeah, so a lot of the RL stuff that has come out like more recently, a lot of it, depending on the RL algorithm that you use, some of it is very like memory intensive. You have to store advantage. You have to calculate advantage. You have to like store like value function, and it depending on like the exact setup and how you're sort of like training the policy to like improve, and you have to keep track of like the advantage on every single step. Like the requirements could be very tricky and difficult, right? Also formulating the right reward is also often tricky, like which type of reward, like what are you optimizing for? Yeah, so loss formulation, those things tend to be very difficult. And in those settings, like it becomes even more imperative for you to be working with like an open source model. It's even harder for you to like try to be like partnering with like an OpenAI or an Anthropic to be able to do that, right?
Can you say more about why it's hard to partner with OpenAI or Anthropic to do something like that?
Well, I think it comes back to, so folks are familiar like with the OpenAI like fine-tuning API or the Anthropic fine-tuning API, right? Really, it is like a back and forth where like you share your data with the company, it goes into a black box, they essentially update the model weights, they ship a model back to you, and then you eval it, right? And that iteration speed is just like when the two parties are across different company boundaries, it's just very difficult to do that at a fast pace, right? And so like what we found is like the best thing that works is having a researcher in-house who has like the product intuition around like what type of data to collect. They're able to like access all the data that they need. They're able to like experiment and with like different loss formulation or different reward signals. They're able to like play around with the optimizer on their own, like fine tune, like make changes to the hyperparameters on their own. Like that just works much better than leveraging like a closed source API.
So you need a lot of knobs to tune in order to get the result you want.
Yeah, like you'll do your RL, you'll find like the model will collapse, you inspect Y, like you change your formulation. Yeah, so a lot of that stuff.
Cool. So you also mentioned data flywheel. What are the biggest challenge you have seen, or you have seen things working to collect data successfully and then fuse that into the model through RL?
Yeah, so I think one of the things where we're actually leveraging Fireworks pretty extensively is we're actually delegating a lot of our eval workloads to Fireworks. So we essentially, every query that comes into Perplexity, we have essentially like LLM judges that come in and evaluate, was the answer quality good, was it bad, generate like a rubric to answer that specific query, and we can collect all of these evals, and they're really good for regression monitoring and regression testing. And if you do like a good job and you're really disciplined with setting this type of infrastructure up, you've sort of like accumulated a large batch of these like evals that you can use, and that sort of is the starting grounds for you to like build this like data flywheel that we talked about. Yeah.
Quick question: AGI or human AI assisted?
AGI.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you.